Lots of people around here know very well that when you dump $4+ trillion onto the national debt, it is going to cascade into cuts to these other accounts, and those other accounts include Medicare. I want to focus on protecting Medicare. I've got a Medicare and Social Security Fair Share Act. It would require people.
That was Senator Sheldon Whitehouse on the Senate floor pushing for Medicare and Social Security, trying to protect it. I'm going to play that full video clip. Also, what recently happened here, Republicans block White House resolution to protect Medicare from backdoor cuts buried in Trump's big, beautiful for billionaires bill. So this is coming from the perspective of Sheldon Whitehouse. That is the senator who was just speaking. He also is backing another bill which would raise the cap to $400,000 in his Medicare and Social Security Fair Share Act bill. So I'm going to give you all those details and some other important Social Security updates. Before I dive into the main content, if you appreciate these Social Security updates, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more Social Security updates. So I'm going to play this video clip of Senator Sheldon Whitehouse. Basically, this is to give you an idea. He is trying to prevent he's trying to protect Medicare from backdoor cuts, which are supposedly in the big, beautiful bill, which just passed in the House and the Senate recently. So this is him trying to protect it. That's just giving you a little lead up to what he's talking about here. But it turns out after they had the vote, it was blocked. So I'm going to let you hear exactly what Senator Sheldon Whitehouse has to say, and then we'll go over this other bill that he sponsored as well. So take a listen to Senator Sheldon Whitehouse.
Senator from Rhode Island.
Mr. President, in the Republican Beautiful for Billionaires bill that Senator Sanders was just referring to, there were a great many dirty tricks tucked in there to hurt people and make billionaires wealthier and happier and more free to pollute. Of all the dirty tricks in that bill, perhaps the trickiest was the one that was so hidden that wasn't even mentioned in the bill. And that is about $500 billion in cuts to Medicare. We've heard a lot about the $1 trillion in cuts to Medicaid, but without ever mentioning it, the Republican Beautiful for Billionaires bill will cut Medicare by $500 billion, give or take. How does it do that? It does that by adding $4.1 trillion to the deficit. One bill, one act of Congress, $4.1 trillion piled on our national debt. There's another law that exists on the statute books of the United States of America, the Statutory Pay-As-You-Go Act. What does that do? It requires a look at bills that create enormous additions to our national debt, and to protect our fisc, it requires mandatory cuts to other accounts. That's supposed to discourage running up the debt by trillions in the first place, and it's supposed to remedy that defect with automatic cuts. Guess what is lined up for automatic cuts under the Statutory Pay-As-You-Go Act? Yup, Medicare. The same Medicare that we saw that huge demonstration from Republicans about during President Biden's State of the Union speech when he said Republicans want to cut Medicare, and they rose in ire and anger to say, no, that's not possibly true. And he said, oh, I think we have unanimity here. I think we have agreement. No cuts to Medicare. Well, that didn't last long. The cuts to Medicare just had to be well hidden. And that's what this bill does. We've asked the Congressional Budget Office what it means. How big will the cuts be? When will they take place? Well, here's the outcome. Given the magnitude of this massive increase, it will create a $45 billion cut to Medicare in 2026. Next year, $45 billion cut to Medicare. Unfortunately, it's not a one-time thing. It's going to keep going. In the following year, it goes up and up. By 2034, the end of the 10-year budget window that we work in, the annual cut to Medicare will be $76 billion. If you stack up all those cuts year after year to Medicare, starting in 26 and going through 2034, the total cut to Medicare from the Beautiful for Billionaires bill is $491 billion. That's where I get $500 billion from. I'm rounding the $491 billion number CBO gave us for the total hit to Medicare done by Republicans in their Beautiful for Billionaires bill. To head this off, we're going to have to pass legislation that exempts Medicare from those coming pay-go cuts that are going to happen automatically by operation of law unless we take that step. Now, Republicans could have, at the time, put a simple provision in their Beautiful for Billionaires bill saying, for purposes of this bill, Medicare is exempted from the pay-go program. They could have protected, with very simple language, against a looming $500 billion cut to Medicare. They chose not to. They chose not to. And the question is, was that an oversight? Or is this a trick to try to tee up cuts to Medicare that they don't have to own? Well, here's a clue as to whether that was a trick or an oversight. And that is that in the other side of this building, over at the House of Representatives, the Republican-controlled House is sending over a continuing resolution to fund the government. They could have put this correction in that bill. They could have added a simple line saying, when it comes to Medicare and the huge addition to the debt from our Beautiful for Billionaires bill, pay-go sequestration will be lifted. Again, they chose not to do that. Now, the American public might not be familiar with sequestration and with automatic cuts and how that all works, but I'll tell you what, people around here are. Lots of people around here know very well that when you dump $4+ trillion onto the national debt, it is going to cascade into cuts to these other accounts, and those other accounts include Medicare. So to plead innocence about this not being the intention all along is completely unsupportable. To say that it was just an innocent oversight in the Beautiful for Billionaires bill is unsupportable. And now, with the continuing resolution coming over from the House, we have more proof that this is a deliberate cut targeted at Medicare, done exclusively by House and Senate Republicans. I want to focus on protecting Medicare. I've got a Medicare and Social Security Fair Share Act. It would require people with incomes over $400,000 to pony up equivalent to what regular workers pay on the higher part of their salary. And that would protect benefits in Medicare as far as the eye can see, as far as the actuarial eye can see for Medicare and Social Security. So I want to put everybody here on record that we need to undo the looming $500 billion cut to Social Security before it starts to hit families in Rhode Island and elsewhere around the country. And to that end, as if in legislative session, and notwithstanding Rule 22, I ask unanimous consent that the Senate proceed to the consideration of my resolution, Senate Resolution 404, submitted earlier today, that resolution be agreed to, that its preamble be agreed to, and that the motions to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table with no intervening action or debate.
Is there objection?
Mr. President,
Majority Whip.
on behalf of the Chairman of the Budget Committee, I object.
Objections heard.
Mr. President, there we are. There we are. I yield the floor.
What are your thoughts there? I know he spoke for a while, but he had a lot of choice words for the Republicans and their actions when it comes to Social Security, Medicare. Now, when he's talking about protecting Medicare and Social Security, this new bill eliminates cap on Social Security payroll taxes. So this is called the Medicare and Social Security Fairness Act, and it would impose the payroll tax on income above $400,000, allowing the gap between that level and the current taxable minimum gradually close. Basically with this, he is hoping to protect Medicare and Social Security for at least 75 years by eliminating the cap on Social Security payroll taxes and increasing the net investment income tax, which supports Medicare by 1.2% to 5% for taxpayers earning over $400,000 a year. So that's the bill that Senator Sheldon Whitehouse and Representative Brandon Boyle are sponsoring. And so, yeah, we'll see what happens with that, saying over time the provision establishing the new wage threshold for payroll taxes would completely eliminate the cap on Social Security taxes. So, yeah, he's hoping to scrap the cap or raise the cap. So yeah, that's what that bill is. He spoke a lot about it in that speech that he just gave on the Senate floor. And that is all the news that I have for you today to hopefully brighten your day a bit. Here's my daughter Bella's tip of the day.
Hi, my name is Bella, and this is the tip of the day. Do you know what you should always know to do? Even though if you can't go travel or anything, you could always try to find something they could do in the area that you're at, or maybe you could probably go visit another state if you have a car, and you could go to different places, but it doesn't always have to be traveling to different countries and stuff. But whatever makes you happy, just do it. Bye.
Got two forms of good news if you're on Social Security right in this video over here. I'll let you know exactly what those two pieces of good news is for Social Security recipients. So click that video now, and I'll see you in that video. Take care, be safe. Thank you for watching.